Our devotion today is from John chapter 21. In this chapter, we get to see an emotional reunion between Jesus and Peter. Now, up to this point, it says that Jesus has appeared to the other disciples and to Peter as well twice before. So, this is the third time that he's appearing. But up until this point, him and Peter haven't had the chance to sit down and have a one-on-one talk and really discuss what's going on with Peter, what happened with Peter when he denied Jesus. And I think that's what we see in this chapter, the opportunity for them to get to do that. I think about this time and, think about those few days after Jesus resurrected. What an exciting time that must have been. And with so much hopefulness and just mystery, not knowing exactly what Jesus is getting ready to do. And I think it was a time of rejoicing and hopefulness, but I also think about Peter during these few days. And while he was hopeful, I think about him carrying around just that guilt and the shame that he had from when he had denied Jesus when Jesus was being crucified. And so we see that come to a head in this chapter. Jesus shows up and they're out there fishing. Of course, I don't know, maybe they were out there fishing because Peter needed to have something normal and needed to get back to it, or maybe he thought that it might ease his mind to be out there fishing. Of course, I don't think that probably went too well because it says they spent the whole night fishing and they didn't catch anything. And of course, Jesus shows up and he does this miracle, and suddenly they have this haul in of a huge amount of fish. Peter jumps off the boat. He swims in. Of course, he's being led by his emotions like he usually is, and he doesn't really stop and think about it. And so he swims in and leaves the rest of the guys to pull the net in. And then he gets to the shore and he has to go back and help them get the fish in. Anyways, he gets to sit down and he has this conversation with Jesus. It's a conversation where Jesus asks him 3 times, "Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me?" And I think about Peter with that heavy heart, thinking back to that time when he denied Jesus. And I don't think Jesus is trying to condemn him here. I think Jesus is really giving him a little bit of a push and helping Peter deal with his failure. And Peter did fail. Peter had to get to a place where he was able to accept the fact that he had denied Jesus and that he hadn't lived up to what he said or he thought that he could. And you know what? That's true for all of us. We all have to understand and accept the fact that we haven't lived up to God's standards. We haven't been good enough, and we need to be open to accepting His grace and mercy. And we see God's grace and mercy and Jesus' mercy on Peter here when he calls him again and he says, "Follow me, feed my sheep." Peter, I know that you think that you've blown it. I know that you think that I can't use you or that I don't want you, but it's not true. I am going to use you. And I find one of the interesting things here is that he talks even about how Peter is going to end up giving it all. He's going to end up giving his life for Jesus, where I think over the last few days, Peter's been questioning himself and wondering if he really did love Jesus. But in the end, it's going to go back to that original thing where he said, "I would be willing to die for you, Jesus." And Jesus is showing him, in the end, you are going to die for me because I'm going to do that in you. I'm going to do something incredible through you, Peter. And I am so thankful just for the grace and mercy that we see in this story. Peter having to deal with his own shortcoming, accept that, and just accept the grace and the mercy of the Lord Jesus and what Jesus is going to be able to do with him. Someone who knows that they blew it. And so this is what I wanted to do, though. If you're watching this on Facebook today, I want you to go and just share in the comment sections about how you have seen the grace and the mercy of God in your life through salvation or through any way. In a multitude of different ways, God shows us his mercy on a daily basis. And so let's share those stories with one another. And I pray that we'll continue to grow closer together in the Lord and minister to one another. God bless you guys.